I recently asked you guys for some bold championship predictions and you've not disappointed. In today's video we're going to be reacting to some of the best ones. I'd also welcome you to comment down below any other bold predictions that you've had. Now it goes without saying there's loads of time between now and the start of next season, but already there are a few narratives which are starting to emerge. 400 likes on today's video would be massively appreciated, but without any further ado, let's jump in. Jack says Sunderland will do well to avoid relegation. Now the Black Cats really need to get their act together. It was February, they got rid of Michael Beale, and they're still yet to hire a new permanent boss heading into next season. Now plenty of names have been linked with the Sunderland job of late, but as of recording there's been no concrete move for any of those managers, and it still seems as if Sunderland are scouting out the market in terms of who that next boss could be. One thing worth pointing out as well is from January onwards, only Rotherham picked up fewer points than Sunderland did in the Championship. Sunderland only took 19 points from their last 21 Championship matches. Like I say, it was only Rotherham who accumulated less points than that in that time frame. If they don't get that next managerial appointment spot on, it could be trouble. Mark Sykes says Sheffield United consecutive relegations to League One. I'm pretty sure the last club that did consecutive relegations from the Prem then went straight down in the Championship was Sunderland. The picture at Sheffield United isn't great right now, but nowhere near as bad as the state of affairs that Sunderland were in that year. It does feel like there is quite a growing feeling though that Sheffield United could struggle next season. Maybe even to the point where the Blades are becoming a little bit underrated in terms of next season. Another big shout here, Sheffield Wednesday will finish above their rivals. Now I suppose that one depends on how Sheffield Wednesday fare next season as well. Obviously the news that Danny Roll has signed a contract extension there is absolutely massive. I still feel like quite a bit needs to fall in place for Wednesday to properly kick on for next season. Improvements are needed within that squad, and with Chansiri there's always that state of unpredictability around the club, I think it's fair to say. But with a very good manager that's seemingly happy at the club for the time being, the sky's the limit. Alex Catrain says Millwall to be a dark horse. Now I think it's fair to say that Millwall underwhelmed for large parts of last season, but then ended it with an absolute bang. Rowett had seemingly took that squad as far as he could have. The appointment of Joe Edwards just didn't really go to plan. Wasn't a great mesh with that squad and the style of football that he wanted to play, but then the return of Neil Harris saw a real upturn in form and they ultimately went on to finish in 13th. On the back of quite a low-key season for Millwall, there's definitely a chance that they could build upon from that and they could be seen as a little bit of a dark horse that comes from nowhere. In years gone by, they've certainly been knocking on the door of the playoffs. Just a question of whether or not that form at the back end of last season was a bit of a flash in the pan or whether that can be a bit more sustainable. This a big shout from Kieran. Plymouth will do well under Wayne Rooney. Now, it does feel like from the outside looking in, both Plymouth and Wayne Rooney are being written off by a lot of people coming into next season, and that's probably a little bit unfair. They're already one of the top bookies picks for relegation next season on the back of how bad Rooney was with Birmingham last season. It is viewed as a very unpopular appointment. But there is some potential upside to explore with Rooney at Plymouth. He'll be coming into a squad where he'll be given a full pre-season. And it's probably also fair to say that Plymouth is the most stable club that Rooney's ever been in charge of throughout his managerial career. You know, Derby were an absolute mess when Rooney was there. DC United weren't one of the big boys in MLS. And obviously with Birmingham, there ended up being quite a bit of chaos last season with how that season unfolded for them. Don't get me wrong, if I had to do a gut feeling right now saying whether or not I think Rooney will work out at Plymouth, I'd probably be edging towards no, but that's not to say he won't prove us wrong next season. A big shout from Joe Brayfield. He says Portsmouth to get autos like Ipswich Town. Now it felt like last season really was a 1 in a million sort of campaign for Ipswich, back-to-back promotions for the Tractor Boys. It is worth saying though, the last time a team did back-to-back promotions from League One, then promotion in the Championship, a team then went on and did it the following season as well. Norwich did back-to-back promotions in 2011 and then Southampton came along and did the exact same thing the following year. I don't think that'll happen, but what a story it would be. I thought this one was quite an interesting shout. Sheffield Wednesday undergo the second year slump and find themselves in a relegation battle again in the second half of the season. I think a lot of people are quite hot on Sheffield Wednesday right now, justifiably so. They ended last season really really well, got a good manager who's clearly committed to the project there. But there is always that jeopardy of a second season slump, like the comment suggests there. Chaos behind the scenes is often a factor in that. I think a similar comparison would maybe be Huddersfield. A couple of seasons ago, they ended really well under Neil Warnock after being entrenched in the relegation battle for the majority of that campaign. But then Warnock ends up leaving fairly early into, obviously, last season, and they end up going down. So it has happened before, but Wednesday will be keen to avoid that. Ashton says Coventry and Middlesbrough for the playoffs. And do you know what? I don't even think that's that bold of a prediction. I'd say that if I had to make a top 6 prediction based on the information I've got right now, what I think clubs will do over the summer and things like that, there's a very good chance that I'd include both Cov and Middlesbrough in my top 6. Certainly think that Coventry will be in and around that picture once again. Didn't quite happen for them last season, but certainly think they've got the manager and squad to go again. And Middlesbrough ended last season really quite well. I still rate Michael Carrick as well. I think that project is still building along. And with the right additions at the Riverside, absolutely no reason why they can't be mixing it with the teams at the top. Dan Payne says Derby to surprise all the odds and get into the playoffs. I mean, it's really early to make any of these shouts right now, but very much depends on what sort of business Derby are going to be doing this summer. Above all else, I think that Paul Warne has a bit of a point to prove this season, in proving that he can cut it as a boss at this level. A few campaigns previously with Rotherham in the Championship haven't quite gone to plan, but being the Derby manager in the Championship compared to being the Rotherham manager in the Championship, it is a different beast. Big shout from Vagial. He says, if West Brom keep Carlos, we'll be in the top 2. Interesting line about Carlos Corberán, as of recording, is one of the names being linked with that Leicester City job. I'm sure we'll be discussing that more over these next few weeks. The entire race for automatic promotion I find a bit fascinating going into next season. Obviously, the threshold for making it into the top 2 last season was exceptionally high by those 4 sides that really set the standard at the top of the Championship. If the threshold for going up won't be as high next season, which I've got a feeling it might not be, there's every chance we could see a surprise team sneaking in there. There were quite a few bold predictions about Leeds United. This one saying that Leeds will miss out on the playoffs, and I mean, this really all hinges on how that squad is shaping up heading into next season. I'm not going to lie, I still think that even if there are 2 or 3 key assets sold, I still think that Leeds squad is more than good enough to be mixing it with the top 6. It's just a question of whether going so close to promotion this season has maybe taken the wind out of their sails for next year, or if it sparked them on to go again. Worth flagging up, Daniel Farke didn't get Norwich promoted until his 2nd season at the club. His 1st season there at Carrow Road, they finished mid-table. So we'll have to wait and see on that one, but an interesting shout nonetheless. An even bigger shout here from Josh, who says Leeds will finish closer to the bottom 3 than the top 6. I'd imagine you get absolutely huge odds on that if the bookies were willing to make that into a bet. Once again, all depends on state of the finances for Leeds this summer, player sales and what they're able to do in terms of recruitment. As of recording, they are the bookies' favourite to be promoted from the Championship next season, but as we all know, Leeds never like to do things the easy way, did they? A very big shout here, which is Cardiff to get promoted, and Cardiff are a team that really fascinate me at the moment because there are quite a few unknowns heading into next season. That club made huge strides forward last season, from previously being entrenched in and around the relegation battle to being really comfortable last time around. Style of football wasn't always the easiest on the eye, but when you stack up the league position of points accumulated compared to previous years, it was a massive step in the right direction. What could hold Cardiff back, though, from progressing even further is the uncertainty and instability perhaps behind the scenes. Errol Balot still yet to commit to a new contract at Cardiff, and as that talk continues to rumble on, that can't be a helpful process going into next season. One of my favourite bold takes from the comments section, which may be the boldest of them all. Lucas Bradshaw saying Preston not to finish between 10th and 13th next season. I mean, Preston have got that region of the table absolutely on lock, don't we? It's a bit of a puzzling one for North End going into next season as well, well, because based on the season we've just had, I think there are real positives and negatives to take out from it. Positives being recruitment, which I do think has taken a step back in the right direction in recent transfer windows. I think that last summer in particular, we recruited really well, and we have got the core of a really good group of players to build upon heading into this next summer, especially if we are prepared to spend a little bit of money. The negatives being style of play and some of the underlying numbers, which do make for cause for concern perhaps going into next season. Still some question marks over Ryan Lowe for I think the vast majority of the fan base in terms of style of play. If you had to put money on it right now, you'd probably have Preston finishing somewhere in mid-table, but who knows, crazier things have happened. There you have it though guys, those were some of your bold predictions heading into next season. We'll be very interested to get some more takes from you in the comments down below. Potentially could use them for a part 2 later on. Other than that though guys, thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and I'll see you all in the next one.